Can exercise protect your brain after 60? Here's what the research shows. You've probably heard it before. Exercise prevents dementia. It's on posters at the gym, in magazine headlines, maybe even from your own doctor. But in 2024, researchers pulled together 104 studies and over 341,000 people, the largest look at this question to date, to find out if that's actually true. The real answer is more interesting and more useful than the headline version. Stick with me, because what they found changes how you should think about exercise and your brain, not less, but differently. Welcome to the Silver Line, where we cut through the noise and bring you the real science behind healthy aging, the good news, and the nuance most channels leave out. Here's the problem with how exercise and brain health usually gets talked about. It gets flattened into a slogan. Move more, dementia-proof your brain. That's a comforting idea. It's also not quite what the evidence says. At the same time, the opposite mistake is just as common, throwing your hands up and assuming exercise does nothing for your brain, which also isn't true. Both of these stories are appealing for the same reason. They're simple. One gives you a clear win, the other gives you an excuse to skip it. But simple isn't the same as accurate, and after 60, you deserve accurate, not a slogan dressed up as science. The honest middle ground is where the real value is, and that's exactly where this study lives. It's not a small survey or a single hopeful headline. It's a systematic review and meta-analysis, meaning researchers combined the results of over 100 separate studies, tracking people over time, to see what the overall pattern actually looks like. So let's walk through plainly what they found, the encouraging part, and the part that deserves a little humility. This study, published in JAMA Network Open in February 2024 by researchers at the University of Helsinki, looked at two main things: whether people who were more physically active had a lower chance of developing cognitive decline or impairment later on, and whether their cognitive test scores held up better over time. Quick context on why a study like this carries more weight than any single headline you've seen. A meta-analysis doesn't just collect opinions or summarize a few studies side by side. It statistically combines the actual data from over 100 separate studies, weighting each one by its size and quality, to produce one overall estimate. That's the difference between hearing one person's story and hearing the pattern across 341,000 people. It's not perfect, but it's about as close as this kind of research gets to a definitive answer. Here's what they found on risk of decline. Across 45 of the studies, more than 100,000 people who were physically active had a modestly lower risk of cognitive decline or impairment. Specifically, after correcting for some publication bias in the data, the risk was reduced by about 3%. Now, 3% is real, but it's small. It's not the kind of number that supports exercise prevents dementia. It supports something more like exercise is one small piece of a much bigger picture. Here's the part I want you to really pay attention to, because most coverage of studies like this leaves it out. The researchers specifically looked for what's called a dose-response relationship, meaning, does more exercise produce proportionally more brain benefit? If it did, that would strongly suggest exercise itself is driving the effect. They didn't find one. More physical activity did not translate into a clearly bigger cognitive benefit. That's an important, honest detail, and it's one of the main reasons the authors were cautious in their own conclusions. On long-term follow-up, when studies tracked people for more than 10 years, the association between physical activity and cognitive decline disappeared. It was no longer statistically significant. Short and medium-term studies showed the small protective link. The very long-term picture was murkier. And here's a detail that matters for interpreting any study like this. This is observational research. Researchers followed people over time and noted who exercised and who didn't. They didn't randomly assign half the participants to exercise and half not to. That means we can't say exercise causes better cognition. It's entirely possible that people in the early, undetectable stages of cognitive decline naturally become less active, which would create an association that looks like exercise protects the brain, when really, declining brain health is what's reducing the exercise. One more thing worth knowing. The researchers also checked whether better-designed studies told a different story than weaker ones. Studies that measured physical activity more precisely, and studies that managed to keep track of more of their original participants over time tended to show a somewhat clearer link. That's actually a reassuring detail. It suggests that when the data collection gets better, the signal holds up rather than disappearing, which is the opposite of what you'd expect if this whole finding were just noise or bias. So what did the authors themselves conclude? In their own summary, they wrote that physical activity may help postpone cognitive decline at a population level, but only to a very small extent. They weren't dismissing exercise. They were being precise about the size of the effect. That's not a disappointing finding. That's what good science looks like. A real, honest signal, without exaggeration. If this kind of honest, no-hype science breakdown is useful to you, let me know in the comments. It helps me know what to cover next. Now, a small effect doesn't mean pointless. Let's talk about what this actually means for what you do this week. Here's how to actually use this information without overreacting in either direction. 1. Keep exercise in your routine, but for the right reasons. This study looked specifically at cognition. Physical activity has strong, well-established evidence for heart health, bone density, balance, mood, and independence. Even a small potential cognitive benefit is a bonus on top of benefits that are already well documented elsewhere. Think of brain health as one line item on a much longer list. You don't need the cognitive angle to justify a habit that's already earning its keep in half a dozen other ways. 2. Don't chase a specific dose hoping for a bigger brain effect. Because the researchers found no clear dose-response relationship, there's no evidence that pushing harder or longer buys you more cognitive protection. Consistency, showing up regularly at a level that's sustainable for you, matters more than intensity here. A moderate walk you keep up for years outperforms an intense routine you can't sustain. 3. Treat brain health as multi-factor, not single-factor. This study is a reminder that no single habit is a silver bullet. The research on cognitive health more broadly points to a combination. Staying physically active, staying socially connected, managing blood pressure and blood sugar, prioritizing sleep, and keeping your mind engaged. That might look like a standing phone call with a friend, a weekly game night, or simply learning something new. Exercise is one contributor among several, not a replacement for the others. 4. Pick activities you'll actually keep doing. Since this research doesn't support more is dramatically better, there's no reason to force yourself into a routine you dread. A daily walk you enjoy and stick with for years is more valuable than an intense program you abandon after 6 weeks. 5. Get any real memory or cognitive concerns checked by a doctor. Occasional forgetfulness, misplacing your keys, blanking on a name, is common and not automatically cause for alarm. But if you or a family member has noticed a genuine ongoing change, a real shift in memory, thinking, or daily functioning, that's a conversation for your GP, not something to address with a workout plan alone. Physical activity is a supportive habit. It isn't a diagnostic tool or a treatment for existing cognitive impairment. A quick safety note, since we always want you moving smart, not just moving. If you're starting or increasing physical activity and you have an existing heart condition, joint issues, or any chronic condition, check with your doctor before changing your routine significantly. Start at a level that feels manageable. A brisk walk you can sustain is more valuable long-term than an intense session you can't repeat tomorrow. Progress gradually and let your body's response guide the pace, not a number you saw in a video. And if you're managing an existing cognitive concern in yourself or a loved one, remember this study was about the general older adult population, not a treatment protocol. Any changes to care for someone already experiencing cognitive decline should go through their care team. Let's bring this together. A major 2024 study, 104 studies, 341,000 people, found a real but small association between physical activity and better cognitive outcomes later in life. There was no clear dose-response relationship, and the link weakened over longer follow-up periods. In the author's own words, physical activity might help only to a very small extent. If you remember just one thing, exercise is worth doing for your brain, but it's not a substitute for the full picture. Sleep, social connection, managing your health numbers, and staying mentally engaged. I want to hear from you. Does knowing the real size of this effect change how you think about your own routine, or does it make you want to double down anyway? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I read everyone. And if you found this useful, hit subscribe. Every week I break down what the actual research says, without the hype.